Welcome to this tutorial, which is going to be showing you how to set up and use Mailchimp for your prayer letters. I'm going to take you through the process from signing up for an account to adding the addresses and contact list. Then we'll build a template, we'll make a campaign, which is the actual prayer letter itself, and then I'll show you how you can send that out to your supporters. Okay, so let's get started. We're on the internet now. We just need to type in the address, which is www.mailchimp.com. Okay, so if you haven't yet got an account, you'll need to sign up for one, which doesn't cost anything. So you just click here on sign up for free, and it will ask you to put in your email address, a username, which can be your email address or could be something else, and then a password. When you've done that, click get started, and then it will ask you to agree to their terms and conditions, and it will take you through a brief tutorial. But let's assume that you've done that, you've set up your account. We'll just go back, and therefore you come to the page and you just need to click on login. Now this brings you to the screen where you put in your username. Mine's already in there, MAF supporter relations, and I've already entered the password, and I tick keep me logged in, and then it remembers it. So if we log into there, well, the first thing you'll need to do is set up what they call an audience, and that's who your contacts are. You can view your contacts, and it gives you the complete list, or you can manage your audience. Now if you click on there, the drop down will give you options like to add a subscriber to your list, or to import contacts, or to manage contacts. They're the main ones you'd like to use. But to start off, you need to import your contacts. You've got a choice then of where you get them from. You can either use a CSV or tab delimited text file, which basically means import them from an Excel spreadsheet, or you can copy and paste them from a file. The way I do it is I make an Excel spreadsheet with a column for first names, a column for surnames, and then a column for email addresses, because they're the only three pieces of information you'll need. I then ticked copy and paste from file, continue, and you'll see here a box where you need to paste it in. So if you highlight those three columns in your spreadsheet, right click copy, then move here and right click paste, that will enter them in. All you'll need to do is click this box and then continue. When you do that, it will ask you to match each column to one of these titles with a simple drop down menu. So where you've got a list of email addresses, you'll just click the drop down and select email address. The next one select first name, the next one select last name, and finish, and then that will import all your contacts. Okay, let's go back. So you'll now have an audience, and it'll have your number of contacts in there, and you'll be ready to start setting up your template. Now the template is the basic design of your prayer letter, which you can use each time to save setting up from scratch. So templates used to be at the top, they've now hidden it under brand. So if you click on brand and then click on templates. Now you'll see here I've got lots of templates. That's because every time I create a new one, I just save the old one with a new name, so that I can look back and see what I've done before. So if I do ever lose my template, I've got plenty to go back to and use. You can do that, or you can just leave the original one in there and start send them out as new names every time and not save them. You won't have anything in here to start with, so you'll need to create a template. So just click on create template. They do a number of ready-made ones, but the easiest thing is just to click on the basic one column template, and that will bring up your desktop. So here on the left you have the prayer letter, made up of a number of boxes which you can see highlighted when you put the cursor over them. And on the right hand of the screen you have your options. Each of these is a different feature that you can simply drag and drop into your prayer letter. So when I say drag and drop, I simply mean you put your cursor onto one of the boxes you want. This one's a text box. Hold down the left button on your mouse and then drag it across, and you'll see keep your finger pressed down, and you'll see it gives you options where to drop it as you move it around. So if I want to put it at the top under the logo, I'll wait till I see it offering to drop the block there and then let go, and we now have a text box in there which you can complete. Basically, you can't write in it on the left, you have to go over here to the right, and then whatever you do in here is reflected in the actual prayer letter. So if I delete, it deletes. If I type, it adds that in. If you hover over this box, you have three options. One is to edit the block, one is to duplicate the block, and one is to delete the block. So if you put it in and decide you don't want a text box there, one, you can just hover over this button on the left and drag it to somewhere else and drop, drag and drop. Or if you think you want to remove it completely, just click delete. It will always ask you if you're sure. So don't worry about doing anything by accident. It will ask you whatever you do, are you sure? It's quite annoying after a while, but it's better that way than you delete stuff that you later need. So we click yes, delete, and that goes away again. So let's drag one in again. There it is. And if we go to a different one and we're working on a different box, and then we want to come back to this and edit it again, just click on edit, and here you see it brings up the opportunity to change what's in that box again. Duplicate does what it says. Click on duplicate, you'll get exactly the same feature, and that includes what's in it. So if we go back to this one, click on it. If I change what's written in here to this is the original text box, click on that and then duplicate, you'll get another one that says the exact same thing. This is the original text box. So whatever's in there will duplicate. If you don't want the content, then you simply have to go back again, save that, go back and drag a brand new text box in. Okay, so every time you want to go back to the screen with all the options, simply save and close. As it says, it auto saves every 20 seconds anyway, so it's very rare that you'd lose anything you've been working on. So that was a simple text box which we'll use probably quite a lot. If you want to do a text box that has colour behind it to make it stand out, then that's a boxed text. Let's drag that in there. As you can see, the default colour is black with white writing. Again, whatever you write in there will appear in the box. You can highlight text and make it bold, italic and underline. I wouldn't use any of these other features. Maybe the bullet points is fine, but I don't insert pictures. It's better to drag and drop a picture in. I wouldn't put a link in. I drag and drop a link, which I'll show you later. And don't change the fonts or the sizes here either, because I'll show you how to do that in the style box. You might want to change whether it's left justified, right justified, or centralized. That's absolutely fine. But as I say, if you want to change the size of the text, go to Style. Default font is Arial. That's fine. Feel free to use others. Please don't use Comic Sans because that is very dated. Doesn't look very good. The size we advise 14. That's the size that comes out best on people's computers. Again, that should be defaulted, but you might want to check that. You could change the colour. Be careful of clashing colours though. Not so easy to read. Red on black as white on black, for instance. Again, here's your choices of bold and italic and whether you want to align it left or right. Line height, if you use slight, let's go back, click on here again, go to content. I'll put a few lines in and you'll see the difference. So if you've got 5 lines, go to style. If you put normal, they close up. If you do double spacing, obviously they double space. But again, I've been advised that 14 point size and slight is the best way for people to read it when it comes through on the computer. Again, change the background colour. You can choose, you can even type in the numbers if that's helpful. If you wanted MAF colours, for instance, the blue is 004D83. That might be something you want to make a note of. That will give you the MAF blue. I would always, if you're going to use a box colour like this, I would keep it uniform. I'd use the same colour throughout. Don't have a blue and then a red, then a yellow, then a green. You may think it looks colourful, but actually it's quite off-putting for people to read. So try and stick with one colour. So that's style. You go into settings. You can choose to have more than one column in your text block. It only gives you options of 1 or 2, but obviously if you put 2, you get the 2 separate ones. You can have them equal sized, 50-50. You can have 2 different sizes. That one's switching below because one of these lines is longer. So just see what looks best. If you now go back to content, you'll notice here you've got the options for content in column 1 and options for content in column 2. So don't forget that if you're trying to write in column 1 and you are hoping it's going to flick up and carry on in column 2, it won't. You have to then break, go into column 2 and fill that one out. Okay, that's boxed text. Let's go back to our desktop, and in between each of these boxes, just to separate them, you can put a divider. So again, just hold down the left button and drag it and place it where you want it. It's best to pad these with about 5 either side. You don't want them too big, but you want to make a distinction. So 5 and 5, save and close, and there you get a divider in between. Rather than keep dragging them over and having to change the numbers, I tend to just duplicate them, do a few, and then whenever you need one you can just drag it in. And if you've got too many at the end, you can just delete them off. There you go. So you're just dividing up in between each text box. Obviously you want to put photos. The best thing about prayer letters really is the photos, because they really do paint 1,000 words. So try and put as many photos in as you can and caption them. One, it means you don't have to write as much, and 2, it just makes it more attractive to people to read. Again, just drag it in. Let's put this one here. You've now got your image in here. To choose a photo, click on Browse, and that will show you your library of photos. And as you can see, these are all ones I've uploaded in the past. That'll be empty for yours, so you'll need to select some photos from your computer. So if you click on Upload here at the top right, and then select your photo file, wherever that may be. Double click on it and that will upload. Then select the one you want by left clicking on it and then insert, and there's your image. Now it often comes up with this if you use quite large files on your phone, that it's too big. It might cause people's download to slow down or get clipped. So they do ask to put them in about 800 to 1200 pixels wide. Don't worry about having to do that beforehand. What you can do is just click on Let's Fix It, and this allows you to edit your photo. So you'll see down here, it automatically selected 1200 width for you, so that it will be okay to fit in. I actually always reduce that to the 800 because you don't need it to be that big. You can also change the dimensions of your photo. So 16.9, you can choose it to be a 4 by 3. You can choose a square if the image lends itself to that, or the normal image itself. You can also crop it. If you drag your cursor here, if you drag it up till you get a finger, and then you can just drag that by holding down the left button to make it smaller. You can also use this button here to flip it left and right, or this one here to flip upside down. Although why you'd ever need to do that, I don't know. You can rotate the photos and rotate the other way. So all things you can do. You probably won't need to use these things, but it's there if you need it. You might want to crop, for instance, and then if you produce the square again and hold left button down, you can move that around and highlight a particular area of the photo, like that. When you're happy with how this image looks. When you're happy you've got the right dimension and it's the right way up, simply click Save and wait a moment and the image will change to the one that you have created. You can change the size of that within your prayer letter simply by clicking on this circle and then sliding it to make it smaller or bigger. Generally it's good if it comes to the edges, otherwise you end up with quite a lot of white space which you can't put anything in, so I tend to leave it large. If once you've done that you want a different photo, you don't have to go back by saving and closing and sliding in another image. You can just click on the current one and click Replace, and then you can select a different picture either by uploading a new one or just selecting one that you've already used before. Insert, and there you are, it's replaced it. Again, you can go through the Let's Fix It, you can change the size, you can do everything like that. So let's save that image in there. If you want to do a number of images, then just slide in an image group. It automatically gives you the option of 2 side by side, but you can add 3, 4, 5 images if you want, and it will arrange them in a certain way. If you want to take one out, press Remove, get a nice picture window of 4. If you go to Style, you can arrange to put a border around them. I don't usually bother with stuff like that. You can round the edges. Let's put a photo in and then you'll see what that does. Again, we can either browse here or we can browse using the menu here. Select our photo, insert, go to Style. As you can see, it's slightly rounded the corners. You can round them even more till you get an oval. You can change the size of the border here, and you can change the colour of the border. Again, lots of possibilities, but don't overcomplicate it by trying to do lots of what can be quite gimmicky things. It's usually best to just leave it without the border. If you want to slightly round the edges, that looks nice. But otherwise, simple photos. People aren't going to be looking at how well you put together a prayer letter. They're just going to notice subliminally maybe how easy it is to read, and yeah, they just want to know your news really. Let's go into settings, because this allows you to change the layout. So you've got 4 equally sized photos, but if you click on this one next to it, you can make a couple of them, well, one of them large, have a couple of normal ones, and then have a kind of landscape view as well. If we go back to content, if we take one of those away by removing and then go to settings, we've now got 3 options. You can have the large with 2 smaller ones, 2 small one, a landscape, or 3. So just have a play with that until you're happy with it. There's lots of different options for that, but it does allow you to put in a lot more photos without the prayer letter becoming too long. Yeah, and if there's not a lot of detail in the photos, they don't need to be too big anyway. You can do an image card. This is basically a good way of putting a caption. So let's drag that in, browse, select a photo, insert that photo. Go to settings here at the end. You can see it's over to the left with a bit of space here, which looks pretty bad. Then we can change the alignment of the image. At the moment it's aligned to the left. We can put it in the middle, which looks a lot better, or to the right. But I think in this case, and most cases, you'd want it in the middle. You can also then add a caption. You can have it at the bottom like that, or you can choose to put it to the left, above, or to the right. There is another option to have a text and photo that does it side by side, so I wouldn't ever use that. I'd use the top or the bottom. Let's put it at the bottom. Go back to content, and again, what you put in here will appear under the photo. There we go. And again, if you go into style, you can change, you can round the corners of the photo again, the options for borders, and the options to align the text, but you'll probably want it in the middle under the centered photograph. So that's an easy way to caption. I mentioned that you can have a photo and text together. That's the image and caption feature. Let's drag that one in. Now it's done it like this one without a background, so this is the same as having an image and then a text box. But if you go to settings, you can move the caption to the left. You can change how much of it is writing, how much is photo. Third and 2/3, 2/3 and a third, 3/4. Usually half and half or a third, 2/3 works for most. But you can also change to have 2 images and 2 captions next to them. So this works well if you've got a photo and you just want to do a little bit of a description, longer than a caption, just to say what the story is behind that photo. Do beware, if we go back to content, that again you have caption 1, caption 2. So if you want to change this second one here, you'll need to select caption 2. Also be aware that if you write quite a lot, obviously you put spaces in between your words, it will keep writing longer than the height of the photograph. That's to be avoided if possible, because again you end up with a big white gap in your prayer letter with nothing in it, and you can't fill that, you can't make the image bigger. So it does mean you have to play with your words a bit to try and limit the amount of words to this area here. Alternatively, you might want to put 2 different photos of the same event and then write 2 paragraphs about it, one above the other. So that's just something to bear in mind. If you want to write a lot about a photo, drop an image in, drop a text box, and then write underneath all about the photo. Okay, we're nearly there now. You'll see at the top there's something here. It says view this email in your browser. This is the header area, and when you've got this set up, when you're happy with what you've done, let me know, and MAF has an actual header that they can put in there for you. Also at the bottom, I'm just scrolling down, you'll see here you've got a footer. Again, we can fill that in for you. You won't need to worry about any of this coding. That will just be the options for people to click on to visit MAF's site, to visit your website, to unsubscribe. Don't touch this, and don't try and drag anything into this area, because it won't go. You basically have from this line upwards to this bit here. So the top 2 boxes, just ignore them and let us fill those out. You'll see at the bottom we've got social media. Now there's one already in there, but let's take that out so we can do it again from scratch. And you've got 2 options, social share and social follow. Let's put in a social share. This enables people to click on Facebook or Twitter or email, and it will automatically put your prayer letter into one of these formats, so that you can post it or send it out to people. You'll need to set where that goes. So again, you can choose also LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instapaper, Google +1 if you have any of those, but the basic ones are Facebook, Twitter, and forward to a friend. You can change the text here for what it says. It's basically saying share on Facebook, tweet, or forward, and that is prompting people that are reading it to do just that on their feeds. You can remove them just by clicking the minus, or you can add another service. So you can have as many of those as you like across there. It looks black and white there, but if you go to settings, you can change the layout. You can either align it to the left, center, or right. You can do it across the whole width of the page, or just fit to size. Side by side or one above the other. I would always do side by side. You can change the icons. You can change what they look like. If you want some colour, black and white. Colour usually catches the eye a bit better, and people are more likely to recognise things like Pinterest, Google Plus, and Facebook by the colour. So let's save that. Social follow, whereas these are links to people being able to post on their own Facebook and Twitter, these are for people to follow your Facebook and Twitter, so these will take them to your accounts. That's the difference between a share and a feed. Again, it's put 3 in automatically. You can choose Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, which is quite good if you have videos that you want people to look at. Pinterest, Tumblr, Snapchat, SoundCloud, depending on what social media you use. So let's do YouTube. You need to put in your channel, so probably youtube.com/ I don't know what yours is, you'll have to look it up and then add that in manually. And then you can just leave YouTube, or you can put something like, check out my latest YouTube videos from Uganda. It's up to you what you put in there. Now you'll see that nothing's appearing there, but that's because we need to go into the settings to choose that. But let's say you've got a YouTube channel, you've got a Facebook account, put in your address again, follow me on Facebook, and you've got a website. So you'd have your address in there. If you go to settings, at the moment we've got it on icons only, so you just see the 3 different pictures. If we choose text only, people can click on these, but I think you need an icon there. If you have both, again, change the layout. If you're going to write quite a lot under, it doesn't look so bad when you do it that way. That probably looks even better because it's by the side. That looks a bit strange. If you had a 4th one, maybe it'd be a bit better. Or that way. So just try them all, see which appeals to you. I think that looks better there, and it differentiates it from these. You can do the outline, or you can do a solid. So you can either put them at the top, or you can put them at the bottom. I wouldn't put them in between text and stuff unless you're doing a text box that's talking about your new Facebook site, how wonderful it is, what you're going to post on there. Then I would put this underneath directly so people could go straight there. Otherwise, just leave it in each week at the bottom or at the top so people can choose to follow you whenever they like. Just a couple more. Button, this is a useful one. Let's slide that in here. This is how you link to other web pages. So let's say you saw a good article on another website. Let's have a look for a website. Oscar, they're quite good. Let's say you want to share this with the people that are reading your prayer letter. Just copy the address from the top here, go into your template, select web address and paste it in here. Then you can decide what to call that. Oscar blog featuring the Moors in PNG. There you go. So that when people click on that, it'll then take them to this page. Again, look in settings. I would always leave it centered, but you can either have the button as long as the text or stretch it over the full width, which I always think looks a bit better, because then you don't have different width ones all the way down your page. The footer, as I say, this footer is something we will do. Code, unless you know coding, I wouldn't go there. I don't, so I've never used that. The final one, that's video, which are excellent. This is where Mailchimp comes into its own, because you can't do this in a snail mail prayer letter. You can drop in videos here and people can just watch them as they're going through your prayer letter. It's exactly the same as looking for a photo. If you've got one on your computer, you simply browse, upload it, select it, put it in. But you can also add URLs from the internet. So generally YouTube and Vimeo, it won't put Facebook videos in here. So if you see one on Facebook, try and find it on YouTube, or ask the person, or if it's yours, put it up on YouTube and then put the YouTube URL in. So let's look up a YouTube video. Okay, so say you wanted to share about the Advent Adventure. Click on that. Okay, take hold of the address, copy that, go into your Mailchimp and add the address in. If it's YouTube, it'll automatically put the picture in from the video, so you don't need to add one. Because that's over to the side, I would go into settings and align it into the center. And then obviously you have the option to put a caption in. So you might want to put something like, check out this new video about the MAF Advent calendar. Save and close, and then when they get to this point, they'll click on it and that will play here in the prayer letter. It won't take them to another page. They can actually watch that. So that's it. That's all the features. So as you can see, there's a lot of options. You want to try and make it quite uniform, so don't use things for the sake of it. Think about what you're going to put in, Move them around. If you think, oh, I've got lots of text boxes with no photos and then a load of photos, try and mix it up a bit. You can just drag and drop photos in between the text boxes. You can put in some dividers, pop in the odd video. It's also good to think about regular features you might have. So it may be that you want to have a regular video slot. Try and put it in the same place each month so people get familiar with where it's going to be. It may be that you want a bit about supporting you financially, and you want to either put that at the end when they've read it, they might, to prompt people to make a gift or sign up, or you might want to make that the headline thing at the top every time. Don't forget you can support us by giving a regular gift. Make sure you kind of always put it in the same place. Don't suddenly stick it in halfway down. It's just a case of playing around with it, I think, and following these guidelines, but also being creative and putting your own stamp on it. I hope that helps give you an overall feel for what to do to create the template. I'll now go on and show you how you actually send that out. Let's save and exit from there. We haven't given it a name yet, so it's prompted us to name it. I would call it your template, the first one, and then that will always be there as the original template that you can go back to later on if you just want the first template that you used. So let's save that. That will then be labelled My Prayer Letter Template. You can edit it again by clicking on Edit, or if you click on the down arrow, we also have the option here to replicate. Now this is what you'll do each time you want to produce a new prayer letter. Come to your templates and choose Replicate. So it'll produce an exact copy of the previous one. And then if we go into Rename, we can just call it a prayer letter January 2020, for example. Rename. And then when you've done everything you want to do in there, you can change it and then save and exit, and that'll produce the next one for you to use. You can create a campaign. Now that means you create the actual thing to send out. So the template will change from just being the basic model of what you're doing into the actual prayer letter. So let's click on Create Campaign. So you can choose who you're sending your campaign to by adding recipients. I invite you to choose an audience because you can have more than one. You might want to have one set of your contacts that are, for instance, Christians and one for non-Christians. It might be one for people in the UK, one for people in Australia if you have a number of supporters there. I've just got one which involves everybody, so select that. It'll also invite you to personalise the to field. This is quite good. This is where it will say hi Adam rather than just hi friend or hi or nothing at all. If you tick that, it'll ask you to select a merge tag, and you want F name because that is where you select to put in their first name. So wherever you write F name in a text box, it will put their name. So you might want to put in one of the first text boxes, hi, and then this code, star, line, F name, line, star. If you want to make a note of that, it's handy to keep that. You can also put it in anywhere in the prayer letter. You might want to put at the end, thank you, F name, for your support. Then you can do that, and wherever it sees this, it will put their name. Thank you, Adam, for your support. Save that. You can decide who it appears as from. I've just put my position here and the generalised supporter relations email. That's also where any replies will come to, or anyone unsubscribing. So you'd want to put probably just your name, Dave and Caroline Moore, and your email address, for instance. And then your subject line. You might want to put something in there, adventure with the Pope, or whatever it is. You can put some preview text. I don't tend to, but that can say, it's been a great few months, here's all the latest news from Kenya. And then you'll save that when there's some stuff in there. And then you'll see a preview here, so you can have a look again before you send out to check it by clicking on preview. And it will just show you how it's going out and what it looks like. Just X up here to go out of preview mode. You can also send a test email. I would advise you always to do this. I've been doing this, as you've seen, I've done about 100 of these, and I still find that it comes through sometimes and I notice a spelling mistake, or I notice I've got someone's name wrong. If I don't do a test email and either ask someone else to look at it, or have a break and come back to it and read it through again, because your eye gets so accustomed to seeing what it thinks it should see. So put your email address or someone else's who's agreed to draft, have a look at a draft for you, and then send test, and that will come through to your email about 5 minutes later, exactly as it would land in the inbox of your supporters. Just gives you an idea to catch the last few things, or maybe the setup, the layout doesn't look quite right. Before it goes out, you can then go back and edit here and just tweak those bits. Now, you can either finish later and then come back to it. You don't have to send it now if you suddenly run out of time, or you can schedule it. This is quite handy. If you want it to go out on the same day, you can do it early and then you can set it to go out, so you don't have to come back in on that day and do it. So you simply choose the date you want it to go out. I want it to go out on the 1st of the month, and you can even choose the time. I like it to go out at 10:30 at night. You can change whether it's Greenwich Mean Time or your own. Obviously, if all your supporters are in the UK, you might want it to arrive at a certain time when people would be looking at their emails, so maybe 8 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock at night, something like that. And schedule your campaign, and it will tell you that's scheduled. Rock on. It's been scheduled. And then you can come out and that will just go on its own. If we go back to campaigns now, you'll see that you have a campaign ready to go. My prayer letter, scheduled, Saturday, February the 1st, 10:30 p.m. And it will sit there. If you decide before that date you should have done something, don't worry, it hasn't gone yet. Simply pause and edit, and you can go back in, edit it, edit design, and then resume the campaign at the same time, or the option is always to send now. So if you click send now, I won't do it because it'll go out to everyone. It will show a monkey pressing a button saying that has now gone. So I think we've covered everything. We've shown you how to update your contact lists. I've shown you how we build a template, how we make that campaign, and then how we send it to our supporters. So that's an overview of the whole of Mailchimp. Obviously, as I say, there's loads of things you can do in this that we won't go into, that I don't even know what they are. And to be honest, you don't need to know. Unless you're interested, then go for it. In campaigns, you can see how many people have opened it as a number and as a percentage. 50%, 60 opens. 29 clicks, 24%. The click is when someone has gone to one of your links or to your social media feeds to follow through to something that you've prompted them to do. So it's quite nice just to get an idea roughly how many people look at what you send out. You can see my average is between 50 and 60 probably, which is about right. That's not a bad return. As your supporters, I'd expect that to be a bit higher because they've got a personal interest in you and what you're doing. May not get a lot of clicks through, but certainly get quite a few opens. You can see reports. This campaign's performance, average performance, peers average performance. Click rate, no, click rate's pretty good. Unsubscribes, none. That's always good to see as well. You have to give people the option to unsubscribe. What it does ask when you update your contact list is for you to tick to say they've given you permission. So please make sure if you tick that you have actually got permission from them, and then you're covered on consent rules by the fact you've put an unsubscribe option in there. Here's a few more stats, how it was delivered, when it was last open. I mean, you can go into so much depth. There's the performance, obviously, when it first comes out. A lot of people open it, and then they have a lunch break or go home. Anyway, you can see which links they liked. You can see who opens it the most. Finally, there's a map. You can see where in the world people have looked at your prayer letter. As you can see, it's mainly because of where we work. That's everything. If you have any questions, do just send me an email or give me a call, and I can help from this end. Thank you for watching.